Introducing Zoho One. Zoho One gives you a unified suite of business and productivity applications to manage your sales, marketing, customer support, HR, finance and operations, custom solutions, and more. All the business applications in Zoho One are fully integrated. With a unified app suite like Zoho One that seamlessly connects your marketing and sales, you can now measure the effectiveness of your marketing campaigns based on the leads and deals it generates. You can also connect sales with your inventory management system to update stock counts. Likewise, you can streamline your invoices by integrating your sales and accounting. Automate sourcing, tracking, and hiring to recruit the best talent and build great teams. When your business runs on one unified suite of apps, silos dissolve and insightful strategies emerge. When apps work together, your business runs better. Zoho One, the operating system for business.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Zoho Live. Good day to all of you, wherever you're connecting from UAE or outside UAE. We are here live from Dubai. It's sunny and very hot, but no complaints. It's a beautiful place to be. So today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Bijay Rajnikant Shah with us from the BNI. Let me introduce Bijay properly, and then we'll move on. We're so excited to have you on board, Bijay.
Great to be here, Ali. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bijay is the National Director of Business Network International, BNI, in the UAE and Qatar, and Co-National Director of BNI Kenya and Uganda. BNI is the world's largest business networking organization. Founded in 1985, organization has over 9,800 chapters throughout every populated continent of the world in over 70 countries and over 270,000 members. These members are SMEs and entrepreneurs. Last year alone, BNI generated millions in referrals, resulting in over $15 billion worth of business for its members. Bijay has won numerous BNI CEO awards for the outstanding performance and business excellence in 2006, 2008, and 2013. He recently co-authored a book, The World's Best Known Marketing Secret, which is an international bestseller. Vijay, again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you, and I'll just get to it. Well, the
Thank
situation
you.
is.
It's great to be here, Ali.
Thank you. The current economic climate is no secret to anybody, and the situation could have been better. We read some news, especially in the country for the SMEs. There are a lot of heartwarming news that the government is working on a lot of initiatives to stimulate the economy. But on the other hand, we see some businesses are struggling. Dubai Chamber estimated that up to 60% of micro SMEs could go down this year. So with this situation, I'd like to get a pulse of the market from you.
Absolutely, Ali. Yes, times, of course, are challenging. We live in unprecedented times currently. But that doesn't really mean everything is stopped. Yes, certain industries might have been affected, of course. We know industries such as travel and events. And even there, there are some success stories that I can share. So, yes, business, of course, is down. It's going to probably remain like that for a while. Because obviously the economies globally are going to be impacted. But Ali, all of us, we still need to eat. We still need to live. We still need to go about doing what we do. Kids need to go to school and all of that. So as consumers and as a business being a consumer as well, we're still going to be utilizing products and services out there. The question perhaps for a lot of businesses and small businesses is, how do they thrive in the current situation? And I think the answer lies perhaps in relationships. So there is going to be business out there. Yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be competitive. But if you are positioned correctly, then I think it is something that you can not only survive, but thrive through.
Absolutely, absolutely. These are the times to pivot, to re-strategize, and to relook at what we've been doing for the past 10 or 20 years. And it's interesting to see how many opportunities are lying there, and these new realities are bringing them up. I'll start with my first question to you, Bijay. Speaking of relationships in SMEs, what networking skills do we need now more than ever to get more referrals when economy around the world is, going through a difficult time?
That's a great question, Ali. Before I even talk about the networking skills, I think it's important to talk about the networking mindset. And that is not just something which applies in the current times, but it's a mindset which will make anybody successful when they network. And the question really, one needs to ask about networking really is, what is networking? Is it meeting lots and lots of new people out there? Or is it building relationships with people so that you can support each other? A lot of people mistake networking to be going out there, meeting lots of new people, dishing out business cards and all that. And of course, in the current climate, in the last few months, we've seen with nothing happening out there as far as events or networking events, I've all of a sudden started receiving a lot of LinkedIn requests, and I'm sure you might have, and many people have. So it's good to see that a lot of people are looking at leveraging online presence, having a digital presence, be it LinkedIn or be it any other sort of social or business network online. But it's not just about connecting with new people. I think the mindset should be around asking yourself first, okay, who are the people I have in my network already? And then, asking yourself, okay, what can I do with this network that I already have? The first thing that people need to have is a collaborative mindset and a mindset of abundance. If you have that, and I think we've seen that especially in the current time, then anytime when you have situations, be it a pandemic like this, or you have global phenomena happening, people as human beings, we tend to get together to help each other. All other things, are, be it race, religion, all of that sort of just gets crept to the door, and people really want to help each other. I think we've seen that across the world, and we continue to see that. I think when it comes to business, we can also do the same. So having a mindset of collaboration, abundance is important, because once you have that, then it's easy. Then it's about connecting with people you already have relationships with, and just asking them, how can we help you? How can we support you? So that should be the first step, rather than going out there and meeting new people or trying to meet new connections. And I'm not saying no to that. What I'm saying is, the first step, if anybody's looking at this, see if you can reach out to the people you already have in your network, clients, suppliers, vendors, friends, colleagues, associates. Just look at your phone book, look at the people who are on your device who you have not spoken to in a long time. Send them a WhatsApp or call them and just ask them, hey, how are you doing? No agenda. And once you start getting to know what's happening in their lives, getting to hear them and taking a keen interest in what's happening in their professional lives, in their personal lives, with an intention to try and help them if possible, ask them if you can help them. And if you speak to enough people, you'll actually start finding out that you can start making connections. I speak to you today, I kind of listen to your story. I speak to somebody else tomorrow, I listen to what's happening in their lives. And over time, as I speak to enough people, I kind of can start connecting dots and connecting them to each other. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, brilliant. It's such a simple point, but yet it's such an important point. To be honest, once the lockdown was over in Dubai, at least, and we got out, I was a bit skeptic. Will the business climate be grumpy, if you will? Will people even have time to talk or explore new ideas? To my surprise, I saw that a lot of people are actually, as you said, yes, abundance is in us. We didn't know that. We are more welcoming to new ideas. We are more welcoming to entertain other people's requests, negotiate better, listen better. It is an amazing process that we're going through. And again, the people we know whose life might have changed for the better or worse within the span of 3 months, we hear a lot of creative ideas or innovative ideas coming from business partners or peers who we were doing something probably traditional with. And then you call them back after 3 or 4 months and they're like, oh, I'm working on this new idea. And you're like, oh my God, it's such a cool idea. Let's do it together. So 100%, I mean, tapping into the gold mine that we all have in our pocket, literally, is such a good way to start. So with that in mind, with tapping into our network, what are the creative ways you're finding to stay connected with people right now, given the whole circumstances?
Well, first and foremost, adapting to new technology. So the one creative way I would say, of course, these days we have so many different online platforms. I think a lot of people may have heard of Zoom, which is one of many. But just like Zoom, I mean, you guys, in Zoho, you guys have your own platform as well, which I came to know about a couple of months ago. So you have that, you have, so many others. I think many years ago, the first thing, and it became a term, let me Skype you. And it didn't not necessarily mean that you were using the Skype platform, but it meant that I'm going to get on a video call with you. Of course, times have changed and other players have come up. So you have all the video platforms. But talking about creativity, it's not just about that face-to-face connection that you make. I think I'm actually finding that by the end of the day, I kind of get zoomed out and I actually make it a point, talking about being creative, is how I can not use a face-to-face platform and still connect with somebody. And I'll actually go into traditional methods which we either are not used to or, even things like the telephone. Sometimes, you could go out on a walk and have a chat with somebody. I have started doing regular walks, and I hardly used to decide to I use the time to walk to probably just be at peace, at nature, switch off. Sometimes I would listen to a podcast. These days, I'm actually also using that time to stay in touch with people. So, I'll get on a group call, either with 1 or 2 people. And I've found that there are a couple of people who tend to do their walk at a different place in the city. I live in one end of Dubai city. So it's not easy for me to, meet up with somebody. But yet, when somebody else is walking, I'll be walking and we'll be on the phone. And it's wireless, so it's not inconvenient. And while we're doing our walks, we're talking. So I don't feel alone. If you're used to walking in groups of people, 2 or 3 friends, you can do that. So they know that there's a regular time in which I can connect with BJ. And the agenda, what are you talking about? It doesn't always have to be business. So if you're going to be a walking partner with somebody, it could just be a social interest together or talk about other things. So that's one way I'm finding. And then other ways in which, if you're going to be using the face-to-face platforms, what do you do? Is there an agenda? Talking about staying in touch. Recently, as family, what we've been doing is every other weekend, we got families dotted all over the place in different continents, and we found a way to get on calls where there's some sort of activity. And now there are so many people actually professionals who do online activities to help you sort of stay connected and sort of bond together and stuff like that. So there's so many things happening out there. Even playing games. Amazed by how many different kind of online or virtual games. These are traditional games you'd have. The other day I saw my son playing Pictionary with his cousins who are in 2 other different cities, and I kind of got sucked into it. I kind of enjoyed it because it's a way of staying in touch with people, staying connected, and building a bond and having fun together. So yeah, these are some of the ideas that you can apply, whether it's business, whether it's professional, whether it's family, friends.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. It has been such a tremendous experience. I mean, yes, again, I don't want to undermine the challenges of these few months, but the way we have changed our ways of communicating and connecting, and also accepting new realities. Let's say if you're doing in a formal setup, people's children participate or people's pet participate within that space, and things that were not possible before or were probably considered unprofessional, if you will. Now
Yes.
we are, and what I'm seeing, which is quite interesting, the whole age-old debate of work-life balance is finding a new shape, where it's like work-life harmony. It's so intertwined. You wear a t-shirt and you show up for an important meeting, then you go have lunch with your family, which was not possible before because you had to drive for 25 minutes. I see my friends who have children, they actually, yes, some of them are going crazy. Most of them are so appreciative of that time, and that energy that they get from their children, actually they transmit it to the rest of us. And again, so it's such a dynamic reality that we're going through in the past few months.
Absolutely. And then what's amazing, Ali, there are certain professions, I'll give you an example. Take financial planners or financial advisors. This requires you to have good high level of trust with somebody to do what you do. I can just imagine, had it been a year or 2 ago, if I needed to meet with somebody in that particular space, and if they were to suggest to me that, hey, let's just meet over a face-to-face call, I might have been reluctant because it's just traditional, right? The face-to-face contact, the handshake, get to know that person. That's so important. I was speaking to a couple of financial advisors recently, and they were saying, this is just amazing. I have been able to, sitting in Dubai, I've actually secured clients in Fujairah, in Ajman. So I know all my other competitors are still trying to get business within the city. But I've said, hold on, what about all these other markets? And the amazing thing is I don't need to drive out there. If I meet a prospect, they're happy to get on a call for 20 minutes. If they just, inviting them to a face-to-face call, they're open to it. And when they're open to it, it just makes it easier for us. So when both the parties are open, so much can be done. And they're actually acquiring clients, in high trust industries through face-to-face. I remember recently opening an account for some, financial stuff and it required verification of documentation, all that, and it was all done online. And it was just so easy, Otherwise, if you look at the hassle of all the paperwork that you need to go through if you're opening accounts at banks and whatnot, So I think the adaptation to technology, which we were all, many of us were resistant. I mean, if you look at in our business, we had a lot of processes which were paper-based. We always thought that, yeah, we need to make all this paperless, but we never fully got around it. And we were faced with this situation, and all of a sudden, within a few days, we were pushed in a situation. We did it, we had no choice. And amazingly, the kind of results we're getting in terms of the efficiencies and the turnaround, it's just amazing. And you ask yourself, hold on, we could have done this much earlier. How come we did it, right? So yeah, it's been fun.
Absolutely. Speaking of efficiency, one of the ongoing challenges for SMEs is budget, and no secret that the budget is quite tight nowadays. And in any company of any size that I worked with or I worked for, usually the marketing department and marketing budget is the first one to go. So, and I just want to know your opinion about or your experience about within the situation where we either minimize our marketing budget to nothing or forget about it for some time, or some of the outlets of marketing are not viable anymore. Let's say billboards right now, probably in most cities in the world, are completely useless. And some of the media who we thought were dying, like TV, are making a comeback because people are watching TV nonstop. So again, coming back to the budget conversation, when the budget is low or non-existent, what an SME can do, what other innovative ways SMEs can have to effective marketing?
Ali, there are two things to look at over here. So one is for an SME, their own budget. Obviously they go to start operating perhaps on a much reduced budget. So they got to ask themselves, how are they getting their business? Where is it coming from? And if they really dig deep, what they'll find is, despite whatever budget they might have had in the past, whether they're doing other forms of marketing, advertising, most of their core business ultimately still comes to relationships. And if they can start looking at seeing, okay, if it's relationships, call it relationship marketing, how does that really work? It is word of mouth. It is people talking about you, people recommending you to others. So what can you do to maintain that? And there are so many things available out there which people can utilize, and the budgets don't require to be huge. So when people are traditionally just used to large throwing money at like you said, the traditional forms of advertising, that can be salvaged. But the other thing that need to consider, and this is something which I would viewers on this show, if you are a vendor to a large corporate or a larger business out there, and they have slashed their marketing budget, and you're wondering to yourself, right, if you're in a space, for example, offering digital marketing and things like that, and now these people don't want to spend any money with you to get business, where are you going to get your business from? The same thing applies. Large corporates, they are not agile enough. SMEs, smaller companies are agile enough. And what they need to start looking at is, ultimately, it's going to be through those relationships. So focus on your relationships, get involved in active networking, proactive networking, whether you join an actual system out there or you do it yourself. It's really putting a structure around your relationships and seeing if you can surround yourself with people who would be actually willing to support you and refer business to you. And there's some incredible stories out there. And that's what I would say, because it doesn't really require a huge investment. It does require time. And I think that's probably something that many of us have. But if you don't have the financial budget, it's still possible. And we're seeing some amazing results because of that.
Absolutely. Sometimes the budget you need is a cup of coffee and probably a phone call.
Absolutely.
And especially here in the Middle East, I've seen it in Africa as well, and I believe it's the same in the greater area of Asia, in India as well. Relationships play a very, very important role. When you physically or virtually shake hands with someone, or get referred by someone who trusts you for on a personal or professional level, that goes a long way compared to any traditional shoot in the dark kind of campaign. So now I guess again I'm looking at the positive side of what's happening, whereby the marketing budgets that were spent, like tap water, the budget was open, it was just running, and maybe something good comes out of it, something doesn't. Most of the campaigns were not even measurable, but you can measure specifically every single human touch point you make.
Absolutely.
Follow-ups are easier. You focus on higher quality conversations and hopefully better deals compared to dealing with hundreds and hundreds of leads that usually 90% of them turn to be waste of time, shopping around, or not even valid to begin with. But if you want to sell or resell to someone within your network, where you can share a testimonial, where you can, showcase something that has been done by you, and everybody else is, giving you a thumbs up, that goes better than $1 million marketing campaign.
So what that means, Ali, is if you're budgeting, look, one thing I think we need to accept is you can't do this without spending any money. There's going to have to be some investment, right? But you're now prioritizing. You're trying to be smart about where is that investment going to go to? Where are you going to put that dollar or the dirham into? So it's really being smart about it. And there's so many technologies out there. I mean, talk about CRM systems. There's lots out there, right? There's some fancy names out there, but many people may find that they're not even utilizing more than half of the functionality of those systems. So why put in all that where you can actually get something for a fraction and still really give you the kind of results that you might be looking at? So I think people really need to start looking at what technology is available out there. Talking about digital, there's so much out there. I mean, you guys as well, you have a whole suite of different offerings out there to suit every budget. And I think people, if they are a bit smart about this and start looking at this, they can find something that can work for them. Because like you say, measurable, it has to be measurable. You need to see, the return on the investment you're making. And it is possible. It absolutely is possible.
Wonderful. That is so true. A mix of technology and people and the mindset is what actually takes us to the next level and gives us, or the SMEs, a competitive advantage to utilize the technology better. The fanciest technology, the latest technology is not necessarily a better thing. We need to first know what we're trying to do, and then there's a lot of tech that is available that can do it for us. Within the referral marketing space, within that networking space, BNI has been always at the forefront of this movement. I learned it through BNI. I learned it through then other organizations. I have some of my good friends who are avid members, for like 20 years or 15 years, they're a member of BNI. And how do we now utilize this powerful network that is there? What can BNI do for SMEs who are not a member and probably watching today within that referral space?
The first thing, Ali, when somebody talks about a system like BNI, it's the kind of people that you have surrounded with. So what I was talking about earlier, that mindset of abundance. We have a philosophy in BNI, we call it giver's gain. Everybody in the organization is aligned to that, where they are actually out there to help each other. So when you're networking out there, you're meeting people. As much as we say, it's all about helping others and giving. Sometimes you don't know if you go to a networking event and you meet lots of people, you can't really be sure what everybody's agenda is. Whereas when you go into a BNI system, everybody's there to help each other. Everybody believes in that philosophy, and everybody actually practices it because we actually hold everybody accountable. We have a set of core values based around relationships, about giving, about being held accountable, recognizing each other, and all those things. And then lifelong learning as well. It's a continuous process. So when we kind of put all those core values together, we get a fantastic outcome where people are, growing professionally, growing their businesses, and also growing personally. The personal development aspect of it is tremendous. So anybody who's looking at something like that will see incredible value in being part of it, because not only it helps you in growing your business, it also helps you in growing yourself. It is tremendous.
100%. One of the things I appreciated, as I haven't been a member, but I was so fortunate that I had a number of friends in each chapter, and I was guest or substitute in different sessions. Some of the things that really hit me, and I saw that, okay, there's a lot of value to be had from a platform like BNI, was the fact that, and you might say, yeah, I know how to network. I know how to tap into my, referral system, or I know how to use a spreadsheet to keep a track. But the discipline and the culture and the mindset that is combined within a BNI setup, the whole fact that you show up there at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m., there is a reason behind it. And that's what I appreciate. And I think nowadays, where most of us are working from home, and it's human nature, we lose our discipline. We slowly start our day, probably later. We might mix things together, personal, professional stuff, and BNI still could keep us on track while having that very friendly and supportive environment, plus a very unforgiving discipline. This is what I saw.
We were quite blessed, actually, when all of this started around March. Our CEO, Graham Weimiller, he saw this coming. And before many of the countries, including, of course, us in the UAE, were put into lockdown, we moved online. I think it was a couple of weeks ahead, where we literally shifted all our chapters, not just here, but globally. 9,700 chapters all moved online. There was a bit of resistance beginning because people just were not, used to this, or they didn't believe it would work. But in the last 5 months that we've been doing this, what we've found is we've maintained the same, or in many markets even increased the number of referrals in business. The amount of businessmen, because we track everything, continues to increase. And it's kept that momentum. It's really kept our members sane. Like you say, the discipline is there, the accountability is there. And it's also helped a lot of them actually, navigate through and thrive through the current situation. So it's really, really been positive. Yes, absolutely.
Valuable. Bijay, I have one more question to ask, but before that, I invite everybody who's watching to type in your questions, depending on where you're connecting from: YouTube Live, Facebook, Twitter. Let us know. It's not easy to find Bijay, so we can ask our questions. Good. So with that, last question, Bijay. Well, it's about success stories that you can share with us from your peers and members, probably, especially within this period. Surprising things, delightful things that you came across.
We have a number of success stories. I can share a couple. One is definitely where, talking about travel, it literally came to a standstill, right? And as we know, in this part of the world, we, of course, a lot of us are expatriates, many expatriates from the subcontinent. So we all hear about all these repatriation flights, taking people back and reuniting them with their families. I must say, a number of our members who've been in the travel industry have been able to utilize a network for that. What it means is starting from, leasing or chartering an aircraft, finding the permits in the different markets, the airports and all of that. And then really, getting the word out there about the actual repatriation, getting the people. All of this, requires having a network of people you can connect with to make these things happen. And I'm proud to say, a number of our travel agent members have actually utilized the BNI network, not just locally, but even internationally. So in the other countries, because we have BNI in 70 countries. So let's talk about India, for example. There'll be lots of agents over there. So people in that side of the world also looking to reunite. So using the network to connect with people to get things done. That's one great success story that we're proud of. The other one is where people have pivoted their businesses. So we know one lady who literally is running, and I should say was doing in-person team building events. And when this happened, they were just not used to doing this online, of course. But they were able to, using our example, they pivoted fully to online, and they continue to do online team building events. And I've experienced a few of those. The amazing thing is, before the pandemic, their clientele was limited to the territory locally. But once they went virtual and they found a way of actually doing this virtual, they got clients in multiple countries in different parts of the world. So they actually got scale to really expand. And they're now talking to potential partners in other parts of the world who can actually, probably license them out, or it really helps in scaling up. So, these are two of many stories that we have in the way people have either pivoted, adapt to the change, or use a network to really leverage and thrive. So really proud of that, and we continue to hear even more stories.
Wonderful, wonderful. And more stories will come for sure in the near future. Well, I'm going to have a look at the chat box here. Oh, we have actually people joining from Kenya and Nigeria. How about Africa? I mean, you're overseeing at least 2 African countries, and in this region we have such a good relationship with Africa. We see a lot of growth even from our business side, and such a vibrant entrepreneurial market that is. I was introduced to African market probably 2-3 years ago, so I'm quite a newbie. But I was amazed by the number of SMEs and the growth, and the fact that everybody's so they're after progress and growth. So how does BNI work in Africa?
BNI is present in only a handful of countries in Africa currently. The largest is South Africa. It's quite established there. And then in East Africa, we have BNI in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda. We also have BNI in Nigeria and Morocco. So I think the opportunities are vast, where we can, it's a franchise system. If anybody is looking at taking up a BNI franchise in the country, in the market, Africa, I think it's huge. And talking about opportunities, what's happened, Ali, again, given the current situation, what has happened is it's enabled people to connect with each other using the BNI network virtually. So traditionally, people were used to, going to meeting, or somebody would fly to a country and visit a local meeting. They might make a connection, through the network, LinkedIn, or we have our own, in-house platform as well. But all of a sudden, you got all these chapter meetings, and people are visiting each other's meetings, and a lot of business actually gets transacted. So it's opened up a lot of doors. And what people are actually feeling is, there's so much opportunity with these markets that I actually don't mind considering taking the BNI franchise in all of these markets, because I can create a whole community of people and I can make an impact to them. So that's what we're seeing. And I think in the next couple of years, you'll see a market increase in membership and general, franchises in Africa. It's huge.
Wonderful.
It's huge.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. So there seems to be one question coming in. Mr. Shabir is asking, who has been able to shed light on the opportunities created by BNI? Well, I don't know if this is a continuum of the, it starts with Ali. Very impressed that you have Bijay, and then who has, I think this is the continuum of the sentence. Very impressed that you have Bijay, who has been able to shed light on the opportunities created by BNI. Okay, I thought it's a question. That's my bad. Yes. Mr. Moses is asking, how do I, as a product seller, approach my buyers with new prices and affected by the hikes in currency? How does referral network actually play a role in that?
I think it's talking about perhaps communicating the pricing with his clients. I guess it all depends on the technology available. I know so many so-called traders from Africa, the people who probably flying to Dubai on the weekends, and you see them then buying lots of stuff and taking it back. What I've learned is a lot of these groups tend to use technology like WhatsApp or Facebook groups and so many other business forums. I think it's Moses. If this is what your question is about, then see if you can look into one of these platforms which you can be part of. And there are many platforms out there, even things like Facebook, which is free, of course, to be part of. Become part of one of these and see if you can really publish your prices over there. But just got to be mindful that you're not trying to go across as trying to pitch or sell what you do. If you have interested people, then of course you need to communicate that to them very clearly. So it all depends on the kind of forum you are, but that's the only answer that I can think of, if I understood that question correctly.
So Moses, let us know later in the comments if he answered you, and we'll definitely get back to you if we need more elaboration on that. Wonderful. Oh, we hit the hour. And do you have anything to leave us with? Something that will encourage us?
This is the action point that I would ask everybody watching this. If you haven't done this, it's a Wednesday today. See if you can spend some time looking up people that you have in your network already. Make a list of 5 or 10 people that you have not spoken to in the last 3 to 6 months. And these are people people you have a relationship with. And see if you can just send them a message, whether it's a WhatsApp or even call them. And the whole idea about that is really just asking them how they are and how you can help them. And make a commitment to yourself to reach out to at least 5 to 10 people in the next couple of days. And just see how that pans out for you. I can promise you, it'll be amazing. Just take some time out, make those calls. And it'll be different. If you're not already doing that, it's something to get into a habit of doing, because it can actually make big shifts in the way you start connecting people and the way they start connecting with you. So that would be my action point and message to everybody out there. Relationships are key. That's very important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We learned a lot today from you, and I believe if we need to learn more about BNI, we'll go on your website in any corresponding country. It was a tremendous pleasure to have you today with us. Really, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll have you back in the upcoming sessions talking about more exciting topics.
It's been great to be here, Ali. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. You can see the recorded session on our social media channels or replay it on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. And let's do what Vijay asked us to do. Thank you.
Thank you.